Well, hello guys, Shomo here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, Stealing from the Future. Well, you heard my gig yesterday. Yes, today we are going to have the distinguished researcher from Italy and his research group, the X-Plan Group, back to our show. Today we will be, reviewing the movie The Social Dilemma. Yes, Diego is back. Diego, you remember Diego found, he's one of the founders of the Explan Group in 2003. He speaks on various topics, on exobiology, esotericism, on French science. Wow, that's a lot of stuff. International communication, geopolitical affair. He has workshops, and he works across America, Italy, and China. So, ladies and gentlemen, I guess you've come to know, the exciting factor for the show tonight, Diego. Let's welcome back Diego Antolini tonight. Hi,
Hello.
Diego. Hi. Welcome
Hi.
back.
Thank you, Shoma. Thank you for the amazing presentation as usual. Thanks a lot.
Oh, welcome. Thank you very much. So, yeah, Diego. So, we have been discussing, we've been almost like, trying to, get this thing about the social dilemma, the movie, how, we are getting trapped with this social media, day after day, and, getting more into it, how we are falling prey to it. So, today, I think, folks, Diego is here to give us his views. We have an awesome question answer round on the review of that movie. So yeah, Diego is here to help us, and I'm absolutely looking forward, and I'm too much, excited to have Diego with us tonight. Diego, do you want to say anything before we start off with the question?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you and Energy to Karma Company for this opportunity that you guys gave me to review this documentary, which I believe, beside all the stuff that we're going to discuss in this interview, it's a very important. I think it's one of the milestones in the digital technology history. Mm, Not necessarily in a positive way, but nonetheless, it marks some important time in what we're living now. And I'm aware that others have spoken extensively about this documentary. It has been, uh, in a Netflix for a while now, about a month, and already
Yes,
stirring
yes.
a lot of buzz. However, I still believe that some topics have not been touched upon, and I hope today, between you and I, and maybe with the contribution of your users, we can shed some more lights about the real message behind this documentary, not the apparent message as usual. There is always something in a broad light and a lot more lurking in the dark, as it says.
Absolutely. Reality and real message is what we look for, and we've got real people with us, folks. Thank you very much, Diego. Thank you. So, yeah, moving on, Diego. Let's go down with the first question. What is the overall review for the film Social Dilemma? Your views on that?
Okay, so in its simplest description that I can make about this documentary, we are watching a group of professional tech guys have some important background in a major social media in the past decades or so. And there is also a combination of some experts, uh, notable experts, and one or two key people. Okay, so one of the first thing that actually struck me when I watched the documentary is that it is carefully planned in a way that you have technology people covering different roles. Some of them, let's say, they have like extras. They cover a very marginal role, as opposed to few others that are key in the documentary as it unfolds. And there are not so many, one or two that actually take the scenes, the way they are framed in the documentary, how what they say and how they say it. and I believe obviously is not by accident. Then we have some PhDs that are put there to give credibility to what the tech guys are saying. So it needs that because they have to support somehow the assumptions and the statements of the technology. So science has to follow suit. And then we have also some representatives of the business arena, some investors and so forth. So let's say that the documentary in the people invited to speak about the social media covers a variety of different businesses. And there are few questions that they need to be addressed. And for example, one thing that I wonder, there is interviews and there is a reenactment, some fictional story that goes parallel with the interviews to show what users are doing in relation with the social media. But I wonder why in this documentary there are not true real users that are being interviewed to give their own opinion about the social media. Why,
Yeah.
if it's a social dilemma, the producers didn't invite anybody from like the average user to ask them, what do you think about what that guy, former Google said, or that guy, the former Twitter said? What is your opinion? What is that opinion? No, the opinion is only from one side, the side of the
Hmm.
so-called experts. Uh, and with this respect, I don't think the documentary really is balancing things out because they
Yeah.
are treating the users as a mass of unknown consumers that actually not interact with the social media, but they are subjects to it. They actually passively are the receivers of what the social media do. And I don't think this gives so much honor to the users. I mean, after all, they go on to say that the social media are made by some super big otherworldly algorithm that can decide our destinies, that can make up the realities and everything. But they forget that without the users' engagement and the data and interactions, there will be no algorithm that can foresee what's next. So
Absolutely.
this is another thing that Showmo, if you because I know that your questions will be quite complicated. So if you think I'm talking too much and you want me to break down more into concepts, I can do that because otherwise my answer can be a little bit elaborate if I want to cover all the angles. So you let me know what's comfortable for you, okay?
Sure, sure. Till now,
Okay.
whatever you have said is totally fine.
Okay,
Um,
very good.
yeah.
So the about the review again, we have to say also that the interviews is about a list. Like if you don't pay attention just on the one single interviews, but you actually go from the beginning to the end, you see a long list of events
Yeah.
related
Yeah.
to the social media that are dystopian, catastrophic, depressing,
Yes.
at
Yes.
various degrees in that spectrum, and that it's like a spiral that goes deeper and deeper into a hole. They use the term rabbit hole because it's popular. And
Yeah.
another thing that I would like also to highlight is the fact that the language used in the documentary is pretty much the language of the social media. They go by hashtags. They
Yeah.
touch upon topics that are very popular within the social media, thereby generating more indexing as they talk. So they address such topics like democracy, like human rights, like manipulation and control, and also some like quite gloomy terms like zombies or contagion, or of course the COVID.
Oh yes,
And
zombies. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
along the interview, I'm going to cover all of this to explain that these terms repeated over and over were not accidental. Actually, the script is carefully planned, and all the tech guys and the people interviewed there, they received, I assume, scripts, so they knew exactly what to say. and why to say that and at which moment. Um,
Yeah.
for example, one thing that it's, in my opinion, not so ethical, let's say, since the documentary main target is to show how the social media are unethical as opposed to a company which wants to bring ethics into technology. But it's quite unethical the fact that they give the impression, actually it's a blatant message to the users that they are passive consumers of some sort of super human technology that have no solution, and they can direct their lives. And the users themselves are depicted in the documentary as a mass of uh, zombies, like brainwashed people that have no part, no reasoning, no thinking in what they choose, because this algorithm chooses for them. Um,
Yeah.
so the democracy, for example, it's another topic that it's covered as a, we can say, hashtag, and it's covered toward the end of the documentary, because the democracy is at stake in these times. I mean, its stakes means that the very foundations of democracy are being discovered as a failure. And because the democracy is also a way to manipulate people and to make them believe
Yeah.
that everybody has a choice. But in fact, with this documentary, you're showing that there is no choice except the type of hashtag that you click, or what the algorithm think that you are going to like, and so thereby offers you that reality in which you are. And I think this is very limiting and totally untrue for the reasons that I'm going to explain later. And what then we are going to see towards the end, actually at the very end of the documentary, the end of the story, is that all of these people interviewed in the documentary, or the key people, let's say the key people interviewed there, admit very bluntly that all of the contents provided are quite confusing, and the people can be disoriented. And actually they have to say plainly in English that they are positive, that they encourage people to be independent, that they must detach from the social media. I mean, if the whole message of the documentary is to bring some ethics to the social community, why you have to wait the very last few minutes, by the way, when the end credits are rolling, uh, to say that finally we have to be positive, finally you have to think with your own mind. I mean, you're saying this after 90 minutes of tragedy and crisis and catastrophe in which they think the world is. At the very ending, during the final credits, you have these guys partially rephrasing their assumptions, when basically most of the people by then may have switched off the screen, or turned off, or went away, because they are the end credits. So I mean, usually, if in my opinion, if you really want to bring a positive message, this positive message that uh, there is, of course, in everything, should be conveyed along a 90 minutes of film or documentary, in a way that people can have both perspectives. Okay, you think that the technology in social media is destroying users. That's fine, it's your opinion, we respect that. But where is the other side of the coin? Why don't you tell us that using consciously social media can also help us to see other realities, be creative, learning, and acquiring knowledge? Why don't you say that amidst the documentary? Why you have to wait the very few minutes at the end of the documentary to finally say, oh yes,
Yeah.
guys, I admit that everything is confusing, I'm sorry, but after all, we are very positive, we are so positive, and we only want you to go away from the social media, detach, don't watch, don't write.
It's
This is not a positive message. This is a way to
it's
say,
like it's like they react when the horse has bolted.
exactly.
That's
And
what.
And exactly. And this is also a way to say everything in the social media is negative. So now get out and wait for the next solution. We, the company that is mentioned in the documentary, we will be your solution. We are the knights of the salvation. We are going to save you because we are repentant texts that we found out after 2 decades of social media that it was a monster. It's evil. So now we finally decided to get out and expose ourselves and explain what we all know. We all know that. And you know what? There is another truth that probably we should talk about, that a lot of people don't mind to be guided. So all this evil that I see in the social media, I don't think can be purged by destroying the social media or by getting out the social media. But in your next questions, I'm going to elaborate a little bit more on that.
Absolutely, absolutely, man. Let's move on to the next question. Like, folks, like, how Diego has said, they try to salvage the thing when the horse has bolted. So, which brings me to the next question. What is the agenda behind human technology? What message do they want to convey to the general public?
That's a very, very good question. And I'm
Yeah,
also looking at the messages that are rolling here. It's very nice. So I say hi
no,
to the
yeah,
guys who say hi back. And you see, one of the users is saying right now that the positive message should have been in the beginning. I totally agree. Anything that wants to bring positivity, even in the gloomiest and most dramatic situation, should start with a smile or with a positive message. Hey guys, you are going to learn some hard truth about the social media, but don't worry. It's not too late and you are not alone. We decided to come forward. Uh, Instead, there is only in now to answer your question, the agenda
yeah,
behind this company, you named it, that this humane technology is the only company that is mentioned in the documentary beside the old big guys,
yeah.
the Google, the Yahoo, and Twitter and everything. But all these social media companies are actually labeled as bad or evil or controlling, as opposed to this humane technology that supposedly will bring some ethical or humanly advanced uh, practice to the
Mhm.
social media. Like probably they intend to revolutionize the social media the way they are. However, I have this question. When humane technology says that, well, says, let's say, infers by the dialogue of the people interviewed, they say, well, we don't agree with this. We would like to change things. We are going to fight against this power. It's okay, all fine. But then I look at the producer and I see that the producers is Netflix. I mean, come on, guys.
Yeah,
Netflix is one of the multinationals that was created and thrived thanks to the social media. So, are you telling me that you want to criticize and fight the system when one of the representative of the system that you are putting down is the one who funded the film and actually invited you to be interviewed on a script, probably getting paid, and now you're saying we want to fight the system, and when Netflix actually brought you there? I mean, I understand that they may want to try. I mean, that's at least I'm trying to see this as positive as possible. So I may try to think that these tech guys, they had this initiative by themselves and they knocked at several doors and finally they found Netflix and said, "Hey, look, we want to expose the social media, but we need funds. Otherwise, nobody will watch us." And guess what? Netflix says, "Yeah, sure." And do you think Netflix will tell these guys, "Oh, just tell us the secret behind the social media, and we'll be more than happy to make you a worldwide sensation"? I don't buy that.
no,
I don't
no.
buy that. Simply, I don't, because I know what's behind all. And they also said that plainly. They said it's all about money. It's all about
Yeah,
how to exploit people in order to generate revenue and money off of people emotions, which, by the way, brings to a
mm,
totally different
absolutely.
topics, that money is not, in fact, the final goal of these companies It's something far worse than this, and we are going to touch upon it in one of your next questions. So they
Absolutely.
try to make us
Yeah.
believe that we are completely controlled by technology that at some point detached from its creators and begin a life by itself, thereby controlling both the creators and the users, because that's what they're doing. At some point in the documentary, they try to detach from that and say, oh, we didn't know that the technology could have been developed so much to be independent, and we created
Yeah.
something that basically developed by itself. They're trying to picture this technology as an AI strong, which I don't believe we have. We may be able to reach that stage, but not yet. So what they're doing, they're making a propaganda of something that probably will come, but they make it look like it's already there, just to make people completely hopeless about how we can fight this.
It's an
It's an
alibi.
it's an alibi and it's an illusion, and that's why
Yes.
these guys are talking about magic inside the
Yeah.
documentary. Magic actually is mentioned only by one person, which extensively during the documentary is repeating this word, and that's also has some importance. It's a lot of importance because magic and technology is something that it exists. I believe it does. I believe there is a lot of magic in technology, but it's not like flipping the coin or making the coin disappears. That's just a mocking. The real magic that's behind technology is far worse than that. It's deeper, and it touches upon the very, not just the psychology of the people, but a little bit deeper than that. So um, humane technology wants to save the world from the social media. They don't explain us why, obviously. And what happens at the end is that we are witnessing a sort of conflict inside the documentary between the producers who are part of the social media elite, let's say, and this humane technology, which is funded by the social media,
Yeah.
but it's against the social media. And of course, this paradox, I mean, they probably think that the majority of human beings are already stupid or very low intelligence, but nonetheless, just in case they might be wrong, they feel they need to say at the end of the documentary that for as much as this can be confusing, don't worry, because we have the solution for it. So basically, they're saying, like the social media, don't think, let us think for you. Don't worry, don't
Yes.
think on the side of the social media, think on the side of us, but don't worry, just wait and see. We are going to bring you a new era, a new dawn in ethical technology. And just this, for me, for any independent thinker, doesn't add up.
Absolutely. I mean, how can you fool us like that? I mean, you can't fool us like that. Let us think for you. It's we who do the thinking and getting into the social media, but then we get trapped in there. Which brings to the next question, Diego. Do you think this movie is a cover up for the fake news spread in the internet?
Okay. The topic of the fake news, it's a huge thing, and it's
Yeah.
very controversial. In fact, the fake news is like a huge hat under
Mm.
within which you can pull out rabbits and doves, and you can do a lot of magic tricks with the fake news, right? It's like a huge magician hat, and a lot of illusion is in there. Now let's try to put order on this topic.
Yeah.
It's not easy, but I will do my best. The main focus on this documentary, when they speak about the influence of the social media uh, towards the users, is the mind. Okay, a lot of the PhDs and the scientists and the experts, which by the way, they have a great huge background Probably Netflix decided to bring up, the best of the best that they could find in order to give credibility to what the texts were saying. As in answering your first question, I also pointed out how that's the American way, and actually the mainstream, the way it goes right now with the news media and all the so-called documentary. They need scientific experts with names in order to second and sustain whatever assumption or statement is made. Without that, there is no credibility. So if I don't hold three PhDs, one maybe in science, one in psychology or humanities, and another one in chemistry, I can't speak of chemistry. I can't speak on of technology. I can't speak of science. Like nobody would believe. This is the way the system is built in order to keep the system as a compartmentalized area. Like nobody which doesn't follow the system, like I don't graduate from Stanford, I don't come from Harvard, I didn't go to Cambridge or the MIT. So those guys are credible by default because they have that name. And that's one of the reasons why I doubt about the um, sincerity of the social dilemma, because the social dilemma produced by a multinational brought in people they are in the system, coming from
Yes.
all these big huge uh, let's say education center, and yet all these big genius failed. I don't know if out of blatant ignorance or because they want to conceal it from us. They fail to explain that the mind is not the only organ that we have in our body that holds consciousness. Everything must be gone through the mind in order to process understanding and relate to the environment and also respond to input. It's not true. We don't have only mind as a very powerful organ that has a consciousness. We have the mind, in fact, is not even the most powerful one that we have. There is another one. There is another organ that it's gifted with a lot of consciousness that can bring infinite light and energy power. But nobody would talk about it because we must hold on the limiting science that only our brain and our mind somewhere in
Yes.
our brain is responsible to process the information like machine.
Yeah.
But we are no machine. We will never be because we have something more than machine can ever have. And then not even the highest genius in the world can transfer this gift that we have as human being into a machine. So no matter what, no matter how geniuses these people are or how uh, expert they can become in science, if they don't mention this, they are still limited. At best, they don't know. The worst case scenario is that they do know and they don't want to tell us. And that raises the question why? Why we still have to maintain that our brain and our mind is the only responsible to function and to process the information about our reality. And because of this, obviously, the documentary has a lot of paradox that I'm going to explain. The paradox are easily explained because of this, because they talk about one and only reality that should be given and agreed upon. But they also talk about how the social media create different realities based on what people expect. And this is plain false. It's
Absolutely.
wrong. Uh, and I will explain later. Now, the I want to continue to answer the question. Uh, because from the machines, I also go and I would like to a little bit talk about the artificial intelligence. The artificial intelligence we will probably need more and more as technology pervades our reality, and of course, artificial intelligence can solve problems, can speed up some processes, and somehow can make our life easier. But the thing is always this, that the question is, who controls who? Is the AI which controls human beings, or each human, or is human beings who learn about AI learn to control and to use it to their own advantage? After all, this world, for good or for bad, by chance or by design, is our world. Is our
Yeah.
world in balance with the world of nature? Is not the world of the machines. Machines come from a technology that was either learned or given from some external sources. That's debatable, but certainly human beings came first. And right now, in this reality, human beings rule. So if
Yeah.
we use technology as a tool, if you use the social media as a tool to foster our education, to improve and learn by an exchange of experience, what's the bad in this? Fake news, they really think that social media is like a huge source of fake news. That's what they want us to believe, so that we don't believe in
Yeah.
anything. And by don't believing in anything or believing that everything is false, we are totally open to control. We must hold the perception of what is true or false based on our experience, education, and intuition, especially the intuition, emotional intelligence, intuitive behavior. That's something that no technology can teach us nor take it away from us. We can decide, but it's our choice. We can decide whether to use it or
Yeah.
not, but we must be aware that that exists within us. It's already embedded in the very human nature. So if we
Yeah.
don't know that there is, it's responsibility of who does know to educate the others. So I really
Yes.
wanted to see in the social dilemma that these guys would address the fact that users must be educated in the use of,
Yep.
first of all, the knowledge of human beings, of who they are. How much power do we hold as human beings? Then, once we have that, social media are so trivial, so easy. There is nothing complicated or otherworldly or superhuman, incomprehensible tools that we can only suffer and not use it to our own advantage. That goes only
Absolutely.
for the average to mediocre intelligent people. And another, I would say, crime, uh, Netflix will forgive me for that. Another crime of the documentary is that they made us believe, across all the length of the film, that users are just a mass of idiotic, stupid shit. Nobody in the reenactment or of the text are advocating the superiority of human intelligence over technology. They're just assuming that because social media are so pervasive, then human nature is already done for. There is no more hope, and as long as the social media keeps taking on us. And this is not
Yeah.
true. It's also the paradox, which brings us to the difference between one and only reality and multiple reality. But before that, I would like to tell you, Shomo, something that I hope people have realized, but in case they didn't, I really want to make you aware of this. Take the coronavirus, which is the hottest topic this year. In fact, if you see mainstream media and all over the place, this word and this concept has basically taken over everything, to a point that some countries even do not recognize any other disease other than the COVID. This disease, or whatever it is, this virus, has taken completely over the attention of most of the topic in many countries, not all.
Yes.
Um, I work with different countries. I have people feeding me with information from different countries. So I ask questions too because I want to find out Italy, India, Indonesia, the US, China, Japan, the Russia. I can tell that the mainstream media have never made such a coordinated attempt to make the reality look like exactly the same like they did with the coronavirus. And guess what? The social dilemma made in January 2020, and then it was premiered at Sundance Film Festival first. Then, for some reason which I don't know and I haven't found, actually, I don't care. It waited few months until September 2020 before being released by Netflix. So we have a huge span of time that it was not released. In January 2020, they posted a Twitter, I believe, in the documentary where he talks about coronavirus. And in that
Yes.
documentary, they already depicting the coronavirus as a catastrophic worldwide crisis. In January 2020, where at the time not even China had been admitted that the virus was
Yes.
there. It was still a kind of concealing or trying to check if the virus was spread all over China or not. And these guys are telling us that there is a Twitter in January saying that the coronavirus is already a worldwide crisis. So the
Did
thing,
not come to India that time. It did not come to India that time.
no, at that time, Shomo was nowhere. It was
Yeah.
at that time it broke out in a Wuhan laboratory in China, and that
Yeah.
was the news that started to come out there. The real crisis began in February, and then it spread over in March or April. So these guys are telling us that the superhuman algorithm already predicted in January that the hashtag coronavirus would have been a worldwide phenomena for all the 2020 real. So what's this? Is it magic or is it a well-planned farce? It's a
Well planned.
well-planned conspiracy. They're not really that much of a conspiracy because it's plain. I mean, after so many months, I don't know how many of you guys are still really afraid of this. If you see the behavior of the media and the government and everything, it's so embarrassing. But but the fact that this documentary already raised the scenario as a worldwide catastrophe in January, unless they remade that part in the documentary in September, which I would like to know, but I really doubt about this. Or maybe they waited until September to see how the coronavirus was unfolding and then they changed it. I don't know. But for what I understand, if you premiere a documentary at the Sundance Film Festival and then you release for the mass distribution, you shouldn't be changing anything. So what
Yeah.
they put there, the frame that they put there about the coronavirus was put there January or before, at the time they shot the documentary. How they
Yeah.
could know that? They are really
That's some.
magicians. I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
if they have a crystal ball and they could understand that. Then I absolutely, my hands up. You're magical. You're a magician. Wow, that's great, guys. Though, why don't you just predict what's going to happen then about the social media? Why you have to tell us about all what happens in the past or in the present and not tell us the future? The only future that they told us is the coronavirus is a worldwide crisis and catastrophe in January 2020. It's a very,
I
in
mean,
my opinion, it's horrifying because then there you have the evidence on how the only thing the algorithm can do, they're trying to prey on human emotions and the
yeah.
value behind the social media and the exploitation of the social media in an evil way, in a negative way, is to harvest on human emotion, to give value to the human emotion, to make a revenue. This is the documentary said that it's okay,
Yeah.
but they make it look like the companies must make money, and so perhaps humane technology is just a philanthropic research center and they are not going to make money off of the emotions. But it's very bad that if they don't play on emotions, the documentary is just a series of depressing oriented and a catastrophic perspective on the social media. So tell me, show me what type of emotion a user can have after watching 90 minutes of that documentary and only at the end credits hearing them saying, yeah, sorry, it's confusing, but you know what, just be positive and detach from the social media. That's the message.
It's yeah, it's too late. It's too late. Yeah,
It's late in the documentary, but let me tell you one more thing. It's late even in the way they produced the
yeah,
documentary. They
yeah.
produced it now after 2 decades of the social media, and you tell me that these tech guys who holds PhDs and apparently are they have like some sort of superpower, super brain, and super geniuses, they didn't see this coming. They really didn't see that coming even after a few years from the social media booming.
Booming. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, there is something here going on. It means that maybe they needed the job, and then right now maybe they don't need it anymore, and so they decided to get exposed. But then there is nothing new. They do this all the time. They do this with anything of a non-official phenomena. I'm not talking just for the paranormal or the unexplained. Even the state secrets or the disclosed, the classified information about the governments. Everything comes out only when it's not necessary anymore. So what's the
Yeah.
use of it? Just for the archives? Okay, thank you. I mean, it's good because we still gain knowledge, but there is no solution. If there is no solution, guys, why you want to go through this effort to fight against the multinational without offering any solution? You just want to tell us that you realized after 20 years that the social media are bad and the users became stupid? Well, if the users really take this for granted, then I strongly doubt that we can find a solution. But I don't believe that. I don't believe that we are massive zombies. This is what
No.
they try to make us
Portray
believe
us. Yeah. Yeah.
because it's to their interest, but it's not like this. Human beings, and now I will explain you in the next questions, human beings hold still the highest power in this reality.
Yeah. Diego, just one view. So, if when you say here, human beings are the highest power, their minds are the highest power, and portraying us as as something inferior is not right. I understand that, but as you said that most of us, I mean, maybe not most of us are not that have that mental strength. Maybe there are, the society is divided into masses and classes. So do you think those people who are in India, especially people in the rural areas who are new to social media, should we, the people who are there in social media for some time now, we understand, we have our expert minds, should we take the initiative to educate those people, this is the way it works, so that even they have this defense, they should not get tempted how we have suffered. So should we do that? you know
Sure. This your comment taps into our deepest nature. Um,
yeah,
Human nature has a social embedded orientation as well as a conflict desire. We have
yeah,
something called ego, and we hold a dualistic nature at best, a multi-dimensional nature in reality. So we cannot. That's one of the remark that I want to make about the social dilemma when they say we should agree or we have agreed on just one and unified truth. Yes, we have to by standards in order to keep the people together, but then within a well agreed upon reality there are millions, a myriad of different small little realities that constantly interchange together. Now, the only way we have to coordinate this effort and let human people grow is sharing.
yeah,
So the idea behind the social media being sharing is actually what brings realities together. We cannot lose that. Through
yeah,
sharing, we let each other knows like a mirror what is your identity that maybe I don't have. I mirror myself into you and I take what's good for me to grow and I learn and grow. Other people may see this as a conflict, but even the conflict has some good in it. The important thing
yeah,
is that we don't remain flat. The
Yeah.
danger of the social media is that after the sharing, it comes the flattening. The documentary is trying to say that we should agree on a flat reality so that there is no more up and downs. And when they say that the algorithm is suggesting by the keywords what people think they expect in that region or the other region to give them satisfaction, that's another crime. The
Yeah.
satisfaction is not on giving people what they expect. The satisfaction must be to challenge people on what they don't know. If
Yeah.
Google continues to feed people with what they like and what they expect, that's flattening. There is no growth. There is not evolution. Why these people are talking about evolving into an ethical, humane technology without saying that it's this algorithm that should change? Because the algorithm has no judgment. And one of the PhD in the documentary said that the algorithm don't judge between good and bad. But the algorithm is not the one who's controlling our lives. The algorithm is controlled by people who must take responsibility for letting
Yeah.
this flattening happen.
Yes.
I don't believe, nobody should believe that there is an artificial intelligence superior to human who is directing the life of the tech, the scientists, and eventually the users. There are higher powers. I
Yes.
give them that. There is only one person in the documentary who is saying there are higher powers. I don't tell you guys who is it. Let's see if you understand. There is only one person in the documentary, and I tell you, it's one of the key persons who is saying there are higher powers. That's a truth. There are higher powers, probably that are controlling both the text and the experts and the system and the algorithm and everything, but they're not machines. Whoever those higher powers are, they have the ability to think and process information and somehow to have empathy with the human race. Otherwise,
Absolutely.
it's impossible that the magic of technology is so pervasive. And of course, the magic in technology is one of the invisible variables that nobody will ever tell you. And it's not like the coin that someone can make it disappear or appear. That's not magic. But the principle behind it is that the illusion of reality is the first manipulation of our
Yeah.
mind. If we keep using our mind just to follow this, we're doomed. So we need to understand that our mind is not the only, nor the most powerful organ that we have to control the situation and to understand our nature. There is more. And India, like most of the ancient cultures, ancient India, ancient China, ancient Persia, ancient Greece, ancient Egypt, they all knew that. There is a reason why, from the other side of the Atlantic, over the years, there is a systematic policy to destroy all these cultures and trying to spread one and only culture of consumerism and ultra capitalism from a
Yep.
country that only has a few hundred years old, a country
Yeah.
that is so young is capable to take over the world, and cultures that have like 3,000, 4,000 years old. Why? How can they do that? How can they hypnotize people to a way that we are ready to burn all our ancestry and our heritage and the richness of our world? This is something that we should address. This is something that I
Absolutely.
would like this humane, if it's really humane technology, to address. And it never did in the documentary, of course. So
Amazing, Diego. Amazing.
we are
Amazing.
not we
Folks,
are
point to
not
note. Yeah.
controlled. We are not controlled. The real
Yeah.
control or freedom starts from inside of us. We decide,
Yes.
and the word are powerful. The
Yeah.
words, when we speak with ourselves, we activate some very powerful energy points, let's put it this way, that interact with all our body at all levels and create the reality that we need across time in order to adjust to the benefit for ourselves and people around us. But we have to say those words, and those words are: I am free, I am in control, I am the master of my own destiny. Don't take this lightly, guys, because these words
Yeah.
hold power. These words are so important for our nature, but we have to say that. We have to plainly state that over and over until we can finally be deprogrammed from our mind, which, by the way, is a source of illusion. That's why we can be so easily contaminated by the technology, because we are led to believe that by using our mind alone, we are weak. And it's true. It's true, because if we only use our mind, we are using only a part of our potential, not all. We have to learn how to use other parts of
All
our
of it.
body, possibly all. And we can reawaken those parts by, first of all, talking to ourselves. And it's not a mad thing. Actually, it's not that weird to talk with ourselves. And these guys who foster technology as a way to control people are deadly scared about people who learn about their human nature. They're trying all their best to divert us from our true nature. They just say, it's the mind. Don't worry, everything is in the mind. So the magician acts upon the mind, the algorithm acts upon the mind, science acts upon the mind. Everything is about mind, 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 mind. So basically, we are just like a huge human brain made of synapses that you can plug and unplug, and that's it. This is human nature, guys.
Yeah.
And this is
That's
said by PhDs, by super genius tech, by founders of reality. Nobody who tells what is our true nature. Why?
yeah.
Why?
That's the
What's
question.
so
Why?
scary about explaining how human nature works? Then just, if you don't know, admit it. Admit it. Our
Yeah.
science is limited, but nobody would admit that. They have to convey the idea that our science is perfect, our science is complete. And because of the science, then we have the technology. Because of the technology, then we have the reality. And what about
Yeah.
human beings? Well, they're also so confused in the documentary that they say, like social media creates fragmented realities, and then we have to come up again to one unified reality and agree upon one reality and go forward. In this era where we are starting to understand the nature of the multiverse and the multidimensional nature of human beings, sorry, to rediscover, these guys are telling us the only way to advance is to go back to the flat, unified reality. I'm not surprised why such scientists like Einstein or Planck, for example, but there are tons of them who advocate the nature of intuition in science, the importance of sound and vibration and frequencies that goes beyond the atoms, even beyond the dual nature of the light, the wave and the particle. They are completely set aside in order to have a quantum reality flattened by a mechanical view by the so-called Copenhagen school, Bohr and Heisenberg and the rest, who completely dismissed the vibration and frequencies and even music as the source of inspiration from the quantum reality. But
Yeah.
both Einstein and Planck were excellent musicians. And they understood
Yeah.
that music and the sound, like most of ancient cultures say that in their records, the sound is what prompts the atomic structure to activate. Is not, speaking of, for example, Planck Max Planck was criticizing the 20th century's discovery by saying, according to him, the scientists in the 20th century, they didn't come up with any really good revolution. They continue to maintain that the Newton gravity and the Newton view of the physics is true, when they should know very well that there's been proven that it has a lot of faults and let's say lacking of um, information. because it doesn't consider these variables. And so they're saying the reason why we didn't advance, for example, in the fusion, in the atomic fusion or the nuclear energy, how? Like Tesla or Majorana said, there is a way to develop nuclear energy without the collision of the atoms. You can just take it from nature and have an unlimited source of energy. Tesla proved it to Edison in America, and Edison kicked him out, fired him.
Yeah.
Majorana proved it to Fermi, and he had to disappear because Fermi went along with the Copenhagen school and then in America, and then he actually, in Italian, Enrico Fermi, he built the
Mm.
first atomic battery and then the reactor in Chicago, and they finally went to Los Alamos laboratory where they developed the Manhattan Project with von Neumann and the atomic bomb. So all of this is because at some point science diverted, forgot about the ancient lore, and went straight into materialistic view that you have to use violence to collide atoms and create energy. This way you disrupt the fabric of reality. This way you create damages that sometimes, most of the times actually, are irreversible. There is a way to produce unlimited source of energy, and these scientists that we should hold them as the most powerful and intelligent people in our world. They should explore that. Why Einstein, why Planck they did and not the others? Why they decided at some point to regress, devolve, instead of going forward and continue to this violence and aggression that by proxy is transferred into technology. The way technology approaches is not natural, is not balanced, is aggressive. Exactly the same as it's happening with science. Everything must be, but guys, did you notice how in the last years or decades since the social media, initially the social media were kind of balanced, let's say somehow harmonious, and then now they are just a cradle for violence, abuses, and all sort of negative, like they say, of course they foster breach in human right, a lot of aggression and violence, and actually the worst you can publish on the social media and the best you get visibility, even though the social media are saying no, we're going to censor this, we're going to censor that, is just appearance. We are led to believe that the only way we have to get attention is by aggression, by violence, and by fostering the ego. That
Yeah.
ego that we should learn how to tame or control in order to blossom as human beings that are conscious and aware that we are in control, and this aggression can be turned into a positive things by ourselves,
Positive
not by
energy.
algorithm,
Yes.
not by multinational, not by tech people who thinks that if they build an algorithm they can control the world. Not even bringing ethics into technology can work if there is not, like you said, Shomo, there is not a constant program of educating people, first of all, to be aware of what we are as a human being. Then, what is technology to the human being? Secondary, it's a auxiliary, okay? It's just a tool. It's not going to dominate. It's not going to create our reality. We are in control of technology. Then we can use technology for good purposes. Then technology is valuable to us and it will bring benefits. But because we are and remain in control as human beings. So if we continue, I'm nobody, so I cannot say that. But if scientists continue to support a science which is not considering the spiritual, intuitive, emotional side, or even just vibrational side, which is the same because emotions are vibration, emotions is music. And as long as they continue not to support this, we're going to live in a world which is utterly limited. Okay. And that's why we are so easily enslaved by technology, because it's so partial, so limiting. And I would say
Yeah.
it's not even interesting anymore.
Yeah. Thanks, Diego. Thanks, Diego. That really resolves my question. That folks, we need that education system in place, and so that we are in control of our own emotions regarding the social media. Yeah. Going on. Yeah, lots of questions are there. We need to be crisp from here on. From a common man's perspective, do you think they, as in the common man, favor the cause projected by the film?
That's question. Say it
Number
again.
4.
Number four. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
I have it here because it's very long. So, okay.
yeah.
Uh, no, of course.
No,
No. The cause of the common man. Uh, okay. What is common man, first of all? We are all unique. We are
mm,
all special. Even though some cultures have caste or some cultures have distancing in education, we are, as human beings, we are all special. Each human person must be respected in full because any person can hold the miracle of life from which we can learn and improve.
yeah,
So, based on this, the absolute value of human nature it's never to be questioned.
yeah,
If social media or even this documentary is treating users, not even people, as
yeah,
products, okay,
yeah,
which it's true from the multinational perspective, from the marketing perspective. I also teach marketing, and when I talk with my students, of course we talk about consumers and we talk about products, and even sometimes I tell them, we need to understand that people are our customers. I never said people are our products, even if
yeah,
I foster the idea that we need to tap into their emotion to make them feel loyal to our brand. But to make them feel loyal to our brand, it doesn't mean that we have to enforce our
yeah,
reality, or we bombard them with hashtags or keywords until they're totally brainwashed and they only follow us. We need to tell them stories. We need to take them into a realm of fantasy where their
mm,
emotion can be expressed. Then it's their choice. They choose. It's a competition, even in the market. We cannot try to monopolize, like unfortunately multinationals do, by tapping into emotion and trying to control or manipulate the emotions. We can
yeah,
let the emotion come out, like in the social media. Basically, people who are a lot in the social media, they feel lonely, they feel not accepted in reality, and they even try to alter their identity in order to create some ideal self in order to be accepted. Okay, this is actually an issue of our time, and I'm not blind. I know that people need to socialize, and they think that in social media they found their perfect environment because they're not exposed to responsibility. They are not consequences because they would be part of the whole, and they
yeah,
can always press a button and get the hell out. I can understand this, but I also understand that this issue, it's an issue, it's given by the lack of education that we give to our children, and especially the relationship between the youngest generation and technology. We,
yeah,
our generation, when we were born and lived our let's say first years until the 90s or so, we knew the reality in which there was no phone. We were playing outside. In my youth, I used to live in the countryside, and I was really enjoying to go exploring the woods, the fields. I would create adventures. I would create my own reality just by using
mm,
my mind and my entire body to live through it. So I can still remember those days, as I'm sure you do, as I'm sure a lot of people do. But take
yeah,
about the youngest children now, the kids of uh, 15, 14, that critical age in which you shape your personality for the future. You
yeah,
learn how to explore reality. And if your reality is only in the virtual realm, because outside you see something disgusting, you see something that you're not accepted, and then you hide in the safe haven of the social media where you can be a totally different person. You detach from reality into
Yeah.
another reality. But our body still, it's a physical body. We need a physical reality. We need to experience the pain and the pleasure and the challenges and the benefits and the sacrifices of being human beings. When in the
Absolutely.
future they would take out our brain and put it on a vase, plug it in, and just leave the brain in the social realm, that would be fine. Then I will be talking about the different things. But as long as we have a body, as long as we turn off the computer and then we go out, get wet under the rain, get burnt under the sun, uh, understand the sunset and sunrise, we are exposed to the wind. If we get outside and we freeze, we can die. So we have to find a way how to cover ourselves. We have necessities, needs, and we have interest in the real world. We need to
Yes.
experience that and use it as a backbone to go back into the social media and see the difference. But if
Yeah.
we have no education, if we take out this education from our kids and we only let them play in a real in a virtual world where their fantasy comes true and everything is no consequences, how are we going to create the next generation? In that respect, the social dilemma is right. He says,
Yeah.
don't do anything, let us do it. Because you don't want to do anything. That's what they would like to. But it's a response, like you said, Shomo, you say if we have a rural person and as opposed to someone who is maybe college graduated, uh, I really don't hold that much difference if they don't understand what comes first. If they
Yeah.
still think that our life is going through a digitalized reality where the physical reality must be minimized, set it aside, is not so important, I think the conversation with a college graduate will be very boring to me. I prefer to go out in the field and understand how that rural person see the earth and the planet and see the changes in the season and see how the soil is not growing, maybe wheat is growing another thing. That's the cycle of nature that we still have. We cannot hide it. It's not just a
Yeah.
click or a post or a like.
Yeah.
The positivity in our world remains nature. Our human nature and the nature around us will never fail us, will never betray us. What is
Yeah.
betraying us is the detachment that we're having and more the dependence upon technology. Technology is good as far as we have the instruments, the cultural instruments to use it to our advantage. In my
Yeah.
case, I'm not worried about the social media. The
Mm.
social media will only know what I want them to know.
Yeah.
I only give the information that I want them to give. I always
Yeah.
have so many, like such a good time every time I punch in a research on Google or I interact with the social media. I laugh because I know that they think they are controlling me and they take the
Hmm.
data and they make money off of me. And I laugh because I say it's all an illusion, guys. You can create as many algorithms as you want. As much as I have the awareness of who I am, you only know and you only take from me what I want you to take.
Yeah.
Period.
Absolutely. That's the way.
And I will always be free. And you can try to stop me. You can try to discredit me. You can try to isolate me. You will never do that. As long as I know who I am and the power that I have as a human being, and especially the approach. The approach that I have is always respectful and learning. I'm here to
Yeah.
learn. We are in this world to learn. We have to improve ourselves by learning. If we stop learning because we have Google giving us everything we want, it's not living anymore. Then
No.
they are right. It's a Generation Z, as your stuff, I think, very greatly named it. The generation of zombies. It's still our decision. It's our choice. We want to be zombies? Fine. I'm not going to stop those who want to be dependent upon them. It's okay. But those of you who think that what I'm saying somehow resonate, it makes sense because we finally
Yeah.
can be, aware of how rich we are as a human being. Then you can do it. Anybody can do it. Then go back to the social media. Use the social media as much as you want. Even go through the fake news. Don't worry. The more you are aware of who you are, the more your intuition will create and follow the reality that it's good and beneficial for you. The biggest illusion is to believe that we are all in the same reality, that we're all following the same direction. No way. They try to make us believe that, but there is no way that our reality is that simple. We live in a very complex reality. And because of
Absolutely.
this,
Yeah.
and I finish with this question, why I was saying money is not really the ultimate goal of this multinational. Money is something that comes and goes. As a value today, like has been a value for what, maybe 300-400 years, it's nothing. In the computation of the human history or even the cycle of life is nothing. It's just 300-400 years. Okay, maybe money will be important for another century or so. Fine, but what it really lasts and it's the most value for these companies, or for those high powers who are behind this company, is our emotions. Our emotions,
Yeah.
and how we passively give out our emotion, fear, anxiety, insecurity, all those things that in the documentary they are named at length. I mean, I saw those people interviewed. I panicked. My legs were trembling. I worried and worried and worried. All these things that they generate emotions in you. It's like a fluid that you put
Yeah.
out. This has a huge value. This is the real magic. And believe me, or no, you don't have to believe me, but think about this. Uh, which value is more interesting for this multinational? Playing money or playing with our emotions?
And playing with our emotions. Okay, yeah, that was really enticing. Moving on, what do you think about the former presidents, AI programmers, and the CEOs of the platforms which indirectly administer us by the programs they have created?
What do I think? Well, I think, of course, if they accomplished so much, they have my respect as mm, to the background that I have, the studies that they did, and probably the experience that I have that I don't have. So I respect them, and I think they are bright guys, intelligent and smart. Um, about the motives, why, if you ask me in their position, would you accept to do such a thing with Netflix and advocate a change in a social media in that way? Well, I would say, if they ask me the right questions, yes. I mean, if I have the possibility to tell them how people should educate themselves about the intuition and emotional intelligence and rediscovering of their true nature, absolutely, I'm all for it. And I will be very interested to see if Netflix dares to produce such a documentary. I highly doubt it, but if they do, I will be the first one to support them and said, I was wrong, guys. You are saying something really new and that not everybody knows. Like a lot of people knows. Probably the one who are listening to you, Shomo, and they're following your channel, they do know. And what I hope is that you guys are going to spread the word and let your friends know about what Shomo is doing in his channel, because it's absolutely in line with what my group, the Explain group, is doing during our dissemination of investigation and research. We both do the same thing. We are here trying to share our view in a positive way, in a productive way, so that in the end, we are not enforcing our view. We
Um,
respect you. We just want you to think. We try to give you a different perspective that maybe but you never thought about it lately, because like that we are all in hurry, we're all busy, we all need money to live. So I understand that, and it's just 1 hour thinking or confrontation about this. It's valuable. It's very valuable. So what my group does, what Shomo does, it's very important, and we hope to have all the support that we ask to you to tell others about what we are saying, whether you agree or not. It's just another point of view. At least we are bringing some new viewpoints, even though we are not PhDs from Stanford, or even though we don't come from Google or Yahoo or Twitter. We still can think with our own mind, and we're very happy to do that. So the algorithms work. To go back to technology, yes, the algorithm work, and that's what the people interviewed by the social dilemma they did. But the algorithm works as long as we remain ignorant about who we really are. If
That's
we start to understand who we are and the potential that we have, the algorithm is just one tool, yeah, one little game that we can play whenever we want, however we want. We play the
yeah,
algorithm, not the other way around. And I'm telling you, from this perspective, in the documentary, between the reenactment, like the fictional part, and the interviews, the fictional part really looks more realistic than the interviews. Because at least the fictional part is depicting the reality that we can't hide it exists. Like there are large population that are like that, like totally addicted to the phones or to the
yeah,
social media and everything. So that makes sense. Is just one side of the coin, but that side is credible. What is less credible is the comment of the people interviewed about only, again, one side of the coin, but not the opposite side of the fictional part. Exactly the same side. They proceed parallel in depicting the reality and the social media in exactly the same way. One way is reenactment, so fictional, and the other way is through so-called credibility because of the background of these guys, because I worked with Google, so I know Google, because I worked with Yahoo and I was the one responsible to monetize at Facebook, I was the one who created that app on Instagram, and I mean, okay, if you just want to stay on the documentary to tell us that you were great and that you create something great, fine. Then they say, no, we are aware that we did something wrong. I think
yeah,
what you did wrong was not to join the staff to create these apps. What you're doing wrong now is to continue to conceal the truth about who are the users and how
yeah,
much potential users have to be independently acting without detaching from the social media. There is no need to get out of the social media. You can watch, you can engage, you can share whatever you want, as long as you understand your emotions and how you share with that.
yes, absolutely. There are a lot of positive aspects to it. Yeah,
The
to social
social
media.
media in this case, well, not the social media actually. Well, the social dilemma played a lot of magic in the documentary. First of all, because of the title. Uh, the title is quite deceiving because you start with the social and then it's followed by the dilemma. The social, by definition, entices some gathering, like commonality, something you put together and you have something in common. That's why you socialize. And then dilemma, it's a splitting concept because with dilemma you have you put everything into doubt or questioning, and you basically separate your mind. So if you put social first and then dilemma, and dilemma being the last concept in the phrase, your mind splits. And you're
Hmm.
already, by just reading the title, your subconscious is splitting. And the split of the subconscious, of your inner thinking, makes you vulnerable. So you
Yeah,
already are vulnerable even before you open that documentary, hoping that the documentary will shed some light and will put you back together. It will put your splitting thinking together. But guess what? It's not doing that. It's actually fostering the
mhm,
splitting. It's doing more and more. There is more dilemma into the documentary than social. Social is used to foster the dilemma, is not the way around, as it should be, that the dilemma should be used to solve and bring people back together to a conscious socialization inside and outside the social media as a way to bring people together. But tell me how many of you, uh, as soon as the documentary is finished, you feel like you are together, you have a common point, and how many of you feel completely divided, detached, depressed, and isolated because you don't like the reality that is described in that social dilemma thing. Of course, you detach. Is your first reaction? I don't like it. I go away. Why you should say I like it to be a zombie? I'm gonna follow you. No way.
No
There
way.
is a detachment, mental detachment, emotional detachment, both, that it's ruining our reality. And when they say, and I finished to answer this question, when they say the social media created multiple realities,
Mm.
it's I'm surprised that PhDs and scientists don't understand that different realities exist since human beings started to perceive the reality as individual and as subjective individual. Each of us has a different perception of reality. The objective reality is a standardization just to make us live in a community. But even so, we all have different angles in reading things, listening things. I'm sure that as I'm speaking, a lot of people are taking my speech in a different way. One may take it as a maybe I'm envious about these guys. Another, I'm aggressive. Another one, I'm too assertive. Another one, where is the evidence? What I'm saying, like each of you, each of us, are taking reality in a personal, subjective way. So if these tech guys are coming up and said, with the birth of the social media, we are witnessing a fragmentation of reality. No, it's because the reality is fragmented that the social media could take field and grow, because they were designed thinking that the human nature can fragment reality. That's why it's so popular. Simply because we recognize what it's already here, what we already have. There is no way that the social media changed our reality or our way of living. Only if we are passive, if we don't choose, then anything can change us, not just the social media. Even someone passing on the street telling you something make you feel insecure and you go change it, or looking, give you a bad look about your dress and you feel ashamed. What do I have wrong? What do I have wrong? I don't know. I go home and change. Why? Maybe that person was looking at the street, was not even looking at you. Okay, so if we are confident about who we are, our realities stand, our personal realities stand and blends harmoniously with the other people realities, because that's what the universe is designed with. The universe is designed to bring harmony, not to bring chaos. Everything in a chaotic starting point always finds its order. Of course, it takes energy, and that's the reason why we're here. Takes energy means takes responsibility and choices. That's the type of energy that we need to use in order to bring order to chaos. It's not the other
Yeah.
way around, that social media just are fragmenting our order and keeping us divided, or keeping us in the reality that we want because the algorithm says so. It's the change of perspective that it's ruining us, because we don't understand ourselves.
I think you have answered the sixth question: what effects social media has on masses, especially on youth suffering from depression, anxiety, and so low self-esteem. And what do you think is the solution to these issues and the right steps to be taken in order to correct them? I think you answered that question already, Diego. This is
I
fantastic.
I began to answer, but there is more to it, because there is also
Yeah.
something called empathy.
Yes.
So, for example, uh, let's say I'm talking to you and I'm giving some jokes, and I also smile because I'm happy to be here. I like to talk to you. I mean, if you go to the social dilemma, you can see people hardly smiling. Actually, you can see most of them, they have those eyes wide open, and
Mm.
getting fixed to the camera, even though the angle changes. Sometimes it's the front, sometimes
Yeah.
it's the profile, and you can tell by the look that is completely aseptic, completely unemotional, except for very few little moments. And I don't know if it sounds like natural to you, but I I would like, when you talk about social things, to be
Mm.
social means to be somehow to convey what you're really truly feeling, not to be afraid that if you expose your emotions you are vulnerable, because these guys talking about how the emotions are being used by the social media are the first guys who trying to conceal the emotions, try to protect
Yeah.
themselves from exposing their emotion. They try to be as close to the machine as possible, but that's
Yeah.
not human. And if you're not human, you cannot understand human. So that's a paradox right there. You can
Yes.
develop a very high tech algorithm, but if there is no humans behind it, and you leave like the algorithm move by itself, there's no way that you can get so much attention from the people sooner or later. You need constant
You'll be
human
closer.
beings,
Yeah. Yeah.
constant.
Yeah.
And
Amazing.
the so because of this, I wonder how much humane is in the documentary. And yes, I just wanted
Yeah.
to
The human
conclude
element is rare. Yeah.
the
So
human
talk.
the human element in the documentary is really, in my opinion, is very little.
Well, that's all. Very little. Very little. Yeah. Yeah. So coming on to the next question, Diego. When the humane technology speaks about false news and their agendas, post the success of this film, do you think the masses will support human technology in the distant future?
It all depends how much they are convinced that this documentary is opening a new window to the fate of social media or not. I've read some uh, feedback on the internet, not all, and I've seen that a lot of obviously the big companies and the big news medias and everything, they have a
Mm.
favorable opinion about the social dilemma. They think it's good. So if they continue down that line, I don't see how things can change. Things
Or
won't
do you think,
change.
or will they? Do you think they will turn into an online judge that corroborates which news is genuine and which is fake?
They're trying to
Yeah.
cover that role, but in the documentaries they have not been objective enough to do that, because they all they said and done in the documentary was just toward one aspect of the social media, the worst aspect, and a description of users or people as
Mm.
already zombified and already
Yeah.
controlled. So if they want to offer a solution, they should first give an opening to hope, to something that can be saved. If you speak for 90 minutes about how bad we got through social media and what are the dangers, and even showing the guy that can't stand 2 days without a phone, and all these
Oh,
three, also another thing very symbolical, when there is the three guys behind the console, looking at the profile of a floating guy, and
yeah.
trying to combine
In that
match up.
mechanism. Yeah. Yeah.
And that mechanism is like a hologram, a mechanism, and
Yeah.
trying to basically direct his life. Now he's going to meet with this girl. Let's put this picture there, so he will be attracted. He will go back to the phone. Right, we engaged him again. We make money. I mean, this is really like a fairy tale. If they have the power to do that at a massive level, like, and all the people will be like that. They even put the example as the Truman Show. I mean, this is typical American. That they
Yes.
have a hard time to tell the fiction from the reality. They tend to put everything together, and as their fiction is our reality. Uh, for I've worked in the US, and I've worked also, and I still do in the movie industry. So I understand that they have a powerful tool to do that. They have the spectacularization of reality and what people think and everything. But after a while, You just follow the same pattern. You keep repeating the same stuff. There is no alternative. You just keep following the same line since the beginning of 2000 until now. Every single thing comes out from the US in terms of news or production. It still follows the same line. Even the script, very similar, all the same. Like, there's no variety, no change of perspective, because they're afraid. They're afraid if some of
Yep.
them trying to say something different, and it's out of the mainstream, and there's so much
Yeah.
money there at stake that nobody wants to do that. So I
Absolutely.
don't know if they want to really eliminate free thinking. I think they're failing. It's not possible. I don't believe that, because I have a full faith in human nature. That's my take. And uh, when they, for example, speak about, like theory, they also mentioned the flat Earth theory, because it's been popularized in the last 2 or 3 years, and they said that the flat Earth theory was given by the algorithm who started to feed into people who read about the conspiracy, and then they started to read it and gain interest and everything. And again, this is very limiting, because the flat Earth theory, actually, before Copernicus, was already a
Oh,
theory, was already a belief. And we're talking about what, like 400, 500 years ago. And the same thing as the giants who are on Earth, the same thing as the existence of the ether, as opposed from people who thinks the space is void. And now there is this new theory about the plasma universe, that rediscovered that the universe actually is filled with fluid. And again, is it given by the social media? I mean, the existence of the ether was postulated centuries ago. And then we
hmm.
started, to think again, no, the space is void, everything is void. And now it's coming back again. It's a plasma universe. So the social media are not really bringing any new reality. If they think that the social media are making or designed to create new reality, they're wrong. The social media is just a small little portion in the human advancements, or in the human life. They,
Yeah.
2000 to now, it's like 20 years. It's nothing. It's not enough to change reality or to change the world. Who knows, in 20 years from now, the social media would not exist anymore, or will be a completely, totally different things. I mean, they are just trying, in my opinion, to give the social media more importance than what it really has in our reality. That's my
That
take on it.
that that's the new take. Yeah. Cool. Diego, moving on to the last question
Okay,
of
okay.
today.
I'm sorry if I've been too long, but I felt like
Not at all, not at all. This was very important for us to hear, you know.
thank
So
you.
very every question with all the details. So not at all. Yeah, yeah. So what do you think is the future of these group slash platforms who are trying to awaken people, and groups like, do you think that the people associated with the film will try to hamper this process? Like I'm talking about the groups like us, who are trying to awaken people. Do you think the people who are associated with the film will try to hamper us?
Okay. I think, like everything in life, needs to have a balance. To have a balance, you need to have two different poles. Like, you need to have a point and a conflicting or opposing points, and then between the 2 points must be that sort of pull and push. Like electromagnetic fields, how they work, they attract or repel. Depends on how the electrons are disposed in the surface. So let's say that I mean, your group, and I'm supporting you as well, is polarized towards a certain side, and obviously it's not the side of the social dilemma, it's not the side of humane technology, it's the side of trying to awaken people, as
Yeah,
opposed to exploit people. So I believe both the points must exist, and it's impossible trying to annihilate one points over the other. So when they say that they're going to save the world, when they say that they're going to destroy the social media, or they're asking the user detach from social media, don't watch YouTube videos, they are trying to, again, using the same principle of the nuclear energy. Make the atoms collide in order to generate a powerful energy that you can contain and use it as a weapon. And this is not the way it is, the way the universe works or the way nature works. You have to understand that both poles, both points are useful, and try to balance them. You understand and take the poles as a challenge. Take what is good about them and try to see if they can actually be a good opposite side for us to move up. Uh,
Yeah.
so, in my opinion, the approach should be: well, we respect everything. We respect them. We just think that the message that they are conveying is not for us is not pointing at the growth and awareness of people. And right now, that's what we really need. We need people to be aware. We need people to stop being afraid. You know, I also have with my group, our motto is always, our slogan is, we don't ask you to believe, we ask you to think. And I also know that when you speak, and your guest also speak, it's all in this nature. We don't want to enforce ideas. We just want to create enough stir in the thinking that people will come up with new ideas, and
Yeah.
maybe what we cannot accomplish, other will. And even if the single individuals can understand how important they are, with or without social media, and inside the social media. Inside the social media, guys, you are not part of the whole. You're not part of the herd or the flock. You are still you and yourself. It's a new venture for you. The social media gives you the possibilities to find a reality that you don't find outside your door. So just explore it, you know, navigate,
Yeah.
browse it, and use it to enhance yourself, to learn also from mistakes. You know, maybe a few times I think fake news are real. Okay, whatever, I will pay the price. I go back and study more. I don't know, maybe the fake news it's false, or it's real. It doesn't matter. The important thing is that I never stop searching. I never
Yes.
stop exercising, not my
Yeah.
mind,
Yeah.
exercising the free will. The free
Yeah.
will is the gift that we were given as a human being, so we can choose. We can be the master of our destiny, and we should
Yes.
always exercise this. Without free will, we are nothing more than a mass of energy, uncontrolled, that only collides with itself and give so much value to others to be exploited. We don't want
Absolutely.
to let our energy be exploited so much. We want to use our energy for the good of people, to help people to grow, and by then we also grow. So that should be the principle. If we can do this, Shomo,
Yeah.
I believe that a lot of people will understand and support us, because that's what their true nature is also. If we think that we should maybe fight the social dilemma, or the humane technology, actually it's a weakness for us, and we only go into that field. They want
Yeah.
the conflict, so people are more
Yeah.
vulnerable. We don't want the conflict. We want
No.
cooperation. We want awareness. More we are aware, more we are powerful. Then if they want to save the world in their own terms, if they want to try to bring down the social media, it's okay, that's fine. We know that as long as we hold the awareness of ourselves, no social media will ever be able to control us. No humane technology, and there is no social dilemma, really. The dilemma is very simple: know yourself, you know the world. The Greek
Yeah.
said that, and there is no dilemma. The real dilemma is actually how we can bring happiness, positivity to the world to make it better. That's the real dilemma.
There you go, guys. You need to be aware of who you are. You need to think through your mind. You need to think through your emotions. You need to know who you are. You need to know what social media is. Not get trapped in it, but use it to your advantage. Use it to search. Even if you get any news, you search it, find the authenticity, and then explore. Diego, it was enlightening. It was
Thank you.
enticing. It was intriguing. I would love to have many such conversations again in the future. Folks, I hope you learn from him. And Diego, any last words before you break today? Because the audience has heard you. Any last words for the audience or for us?
Well, I saw that there are some comments, and I'm sorry that I couldn't interact with you guys, but I think they also interacted among themselves, and I'm sure you will have questions to Showmo. I just want to thank you for your engagement, for listening to us, and thank again Showmo and Stealing from the Future and Energy to Karma Company, which is behind all of this, and they put us together. And of course, like you can see here, if you want to know more about our research and our mission, you can go always visiting our website, explain.net, and our social media. But we'll be in touch. And Shomo,
Yeah.
I think again, thank you for hosting me here, and I hope we can see each other soon.
Absolutely, Diego. Absolutely, folks. If you want to get in touch with Diego, he already said follow the xplan.net, the website. You will find more of his work, more of his research. Thank you, Diego. Thank you, folks. We'll catch again soon. Bye.
Bye
Adios.
bye.
Good night.
Thank you.
Bye.